There's 1 minute left. All right, that's it. So who would like to be first? The 5 word challenge. Anybody feeling confident? Anybody out there? Give someone a nudge. Wonderful. First casting. And could our Zoom compadres put their names into the chat, please, for the 5 words? Okay, so you guys, can you put your names into the chat for the 5 word challenge, please? So first up, we have Ray.
All right, this is my take. It's called Street Scene, Olden Days. Picture this. The clatter of iron on stone is non-stop. Hooves, wheel rims of the carriages, hoops of the casks made of staves of oak, containing ale, stout, bitter, rolling controlledly toward the cellar's trap. In the carriages, courting couples, balancing the dilemma of demands between propriety and lust. A liaison publicly acknowledged but not yet consummated, a surmise. Finally, to counterpoint the plenty and easy society for some in that time, a ragamuffin standing drenched in the rain. Thank you.
So just note that the 5 word challenge is judged by the clapometer. So when you hear something that you really like, give it wedding. So next up, we have Jeff on Zoom. Hello, Jeff. How are you doing?
Hello. Okay. There was a little ragamuffin who loved his turkey full of stuffin'. He'd lust and drool for bits of bread gone soggy in a bird that was dead and served upon a table of oak with mashed potatoes and maybe a Coke. An empty turkey made him bitter. He rushed his mother's seat and hit her. And after she got over the pain, she sent him outside in the rain to think about what he had done and catch pneumonia just for fun. And as he lay and coughed on his deathbed, he thought, was it worth it for a bird full of soggy bread?
Thank you, Jeff. Who's up next, guys? Do we have anybody in the room? Wonderful. How are we doing? We have Antonio, the 5 word challenge.
So, vivid oak tree, tasting the bitter sound of the spring, lost in the midst ragamuffin of millions of life, from the rain becomes life. That's it.
Thank you very much, Antonio. Who is up next? Does anybody feel lucky? Wonderful. We have another contestant, followed by Cedric afterwards. Cedric, someone's coming.
And I was left alone, bitter in the rain, so full of empty pain, so stoned and confused, one took too few. A green cocoon, as sour flowers have the power to loom, and too soon you wanted to be free, with dreary dreams of being a ragamuffin too. But who am I to you, and who am I to me? I'm lust and rage, a soft smoky haze, burning oak instead of sage, as I throw another log on the fire for me and sit back in this debris of a mind falling apart. But then I smile and slip back to the start. I was left alone, bitter in the rain, so full and so sane.
Now we have Cedric. And guys, if you could just say your name as you give your poem just before it, that'd be brilliant. Thank you.
Well, as you heard, my name is Cedric. There is more than meet the eyes, a bigger story behind the patches and the hidden scars of the children seen sometimes in the back alleys of the merchant streets. The ragamuffins tell no tales that will not profit them or save their lives. Yet they, in their rugged youth, want to project an obvious lie of their presence. The kids, barely pubescent, will speak out loud about the bitter lust over a former lover, to cover up the tender love of a mother, about mighty oaks in the morning woods when they really sleep in under those damaged roofs over their heads, letting in the occasional rains. They are right, however, when they laugh about the drops that they learn too early to dry off their cheeks.
So next up we have Matt Mooney from Zoom, followed by Sublu.
Under an oak in Ukraine, the tired little ragamuffin, in flight with his frightened mom from the advancing Russians, clung to her warm body for protection from the rain that was now turning to snow, driven by the bitter wind that whipped them closer together, woeful as the tyrant's lust for war that terrorized their souls.
Next up we have Sublu.
Thanks very much. On a thread. You don't mind the rain, true Irish cat that you are, being chased around by those ragamuffin toms, fierce and pharaoh. They cannot take your lust for life away. You tuck your claws into the rough back of the oak branches, hiding in the canopy. This time the car caught you, thrust you, busted your bones, splintering, poking into flesh, and burst your diaphragm, organs pushed into your lung. You look at me with trusting eyes, tuck your head against the carrier to find my touch. You breathe into your pain, and we can't even see your suffering. What a bitter call to make now for me, as your life hangs on the drip, the thread still so strong, so strong. What a bitter call. You don't mind the rain, your will to live won't budge to any ragamuffin. Your eyes show me your trust. Who am I to say no?
Do we have somebody else from the room? Wonderful.
Yeah, my name's Rob. It's called Wild Acorns. Young ragamuffins lie, their hands grope and thrust. Through bitter rain they writhe in oak leaves in lust. Wild acorns do bloom through the oncoming dusk, on damp undergrowth in the heat and the musk.
Do we have anybody else in the room? Wonderful. And we'll have Jim after, then we might have someone from Zoom.
I'm going to read the words that are legible. Time is a ragamuffin, slippery rapscallion, it snickers in the rush lust of rain. Drops kill themselves to kiss the ground but once. Bitter bodies squashed and washed down gutter drains. You can taste the regret in the doors of dead oak. Thanks.
Next up, we have Jim Crickard.
A plastic bag floats in the rain like a Portuguese man of war. Nebulous, immortal being caught on the branch of an oak that has seen wars and weddings, horse carts and Hyundais, and now a ragamuffin who urinates golden streams of pale ale all over her feet, feels bitter that she cannot speak. Lusting for revenge, she tilts her twigs and drops a water bomb on him.
And now we'll go to Zoom with Augustina. Augustina seems to have dropped off the Zoom for a moment, so we'll take someone else.
Sorry, I'm here. I just thought that there was someone else in front of me.
There we go. We have Augustina. We'll have Cara after Augustina.
Sorry about that. I was thrust into lust with you. I lost all my self-trust. You took advantage and was unjust. You left me bitter, fried my brain like mashed banana fritters. But in reality, you were just poop covered in glitter that had been soaked in rain, forming a mucky puddle under the shadow of a big oak tree. You woke me, broke me. I could see you for who you were eventually. Once I washed the splashes from the dancing from my frames, a scruffy ragamuffin, that's all you turned out to be.
Wonderful. And then we have Cara, is that right? Yeah, beautiful.
A parched lust spits up to the top of my lips and I am bitter. At the ragamuffin I've become. I used to be so impassioned, my actions aligned with my intentions, and now I am frazzled. I am so far away from my real way, from oak and rain, from streams and lakes. My inner nature was splayed like dappled shade along the glade, and now it fades. I wish to be drawn like a magnet to my fate, and love what comes up. Like froth forming and rising from water boiled, lust spits up to the top of my lips. With myself I am quenched, I am one.
All right, folks, it's been an amazing standard so far. Who do we have next? Marva. So we have, and yeah, we'll follow that up with DJ.
Let me tell you something. I was stuck, and not for nothing. Bedecked with the wardrobe of a ragamuffin, covered in pain, covered in crust, covered in rain, folk. But every emotion she would evoke split the difference between becoming bitter and hope. Deep roots sprouting from an ache, twisting into me, growing into an oak.
I come in from the rain, a rugged ragamuffin, an unusual, unwelcome introduction. But I too have my lust for connection that needs the attention of now. Bitter truth that I'll drown in a bottle, a tragedy of the all too common story that asks if any of us really belong. And it's easier to examine this amber fluid I swirl in this glass for traces of a previous life. Something grander than this feeling I have now. A hint of orange, a taste of oak, and I hope for this zest and this strength so I might too be something more.
That was marvelous, Daniel. Thank you. So up next we have from Zoom, Catherine. Are you there, Catherine?
I'm here.
Marvelous.
This may start out sounding a lovely story, but it isn't. The rain came down gently on the oak trees beneath which huddled a teeny tiny ragamuffin. Everything about him was small, from his teeny tiny hands to his teeny tiny head to his teeny tiny widget of a dicklet. Oh, what a sad and sorry ragamuffin, for it was almost St. Paddy's Day and he had no one to love him of the same size. You see, he had been trapped under a spell of bitter, unfulfilled lust brought down upon him by an equally tiny leprechaun who, just like the ragamuffin, bore teeny tiny grudges.
Do we have somebody else from the room? Anybody? Marvelous. We have a Mano.
Hello. Awoken by the bitter chill of skylight left ajar, it's morning and a drop of rain unsettles on her eyelids. Lipstick smears and blackened tears paint the ragamuffin pillowcase. Each trace of lust will be erased so shortly by the spin and drain. Lightning strikes the oak wood, but she has not caught fire.
Do we have someone else in the room? And then we will go to Zoom. Margaret? Wonderful.
Right. Lusty cries of a soggy ragamuffin stranded in the rain. Oh, it's all right for you. You have your sherry oak cask drained, all blue-collared like a Philadelphia lawyer, with your fancy trilby hat. You're all fired up on your uppers and downers. Bet you think you're an ascot. You look more like the king of the sulkies, just a phony alley cat, the lot of you. I'm impoverished, but I have my soul. I think I'm after hopping onto the wrong one. Blue collar like a Philadelphia lawyer with your jaunty trilby hat. Bet you think you're an ascot. You're all fired up in your uppers and downers, but you don't look jaunty to me. You're more like the king of the Jarvies, a sulky sultan of the sulkies. Phony alley cats, the lot of you. Impoverished am I, but I've a clear view of the sky. My pen is free and the drink link of my mind flows free. Got my memories and they're rich. And the best things in life are free. I've got the empty pockets, but the eyes full of stars. So I'll hoof it off, let you go pay off your loan for your fancy Yankee car.
That was wonderful, Mike. Thank you. Next up, we're going to go to Zoom. We have Pam Campbell. After that, we'll have Rosie here from the room.
Okay. Railway hard run, oak slatted bench bitters, hunched bomb rained ragamuffins, power lust shrapnel pierced sighs.
When rain falls, he remembers the oak, the body of the tree, his body, how they were one. In and out they breathed together. Beneath its outstretched arms, he was never lost. Time and again, when it rains, James remembers himself, forgets the bitter seed that grew his ragamuffin heart, the axeman's fall.
And who do we have next, folks? Anybody want to volunteer? Here we go.
My name's Bowie. Only in this bitter wind that slashes through our games of blame, a lust can grow for all that pains, glassed oak among a desolate plain. You call for me with whispers three, ragamuffin, ragamuffin, ragamuffin and me, alone in all we do to hate, each other, ourselves, and this very place.
Wonderful. That was Bowie's first time reading here, so thank you. Who do we have next? Patricia Walsh.
We can no sooner convince ourselves how easy a life we lead, whether loading the Ragamuffin's time frame, slowly dancing in the rain, the bitter luxury transfixed to oak, lusting the improbable, excusing the position, a bitter conquest realizing its fate. God sleekly knowing all and sundry, the bitter food gorged upon like so, the Ragamuffin's portion exacted at will, cardiovascular oak lusting after itself, the burning rain conquers no evil. Lusting for a common time, a type dissuaded, encased in oak never had no one ever. The bitterness of cries of the ragamuffin glory, raining on some parade, a temperature flies. Sad idiosyncrasy, no record of wrongs. Attenuated associates tires its own weight.
Anybody else, guys? Wonderful. We have Catherine.
It's called Tears. You put the raga in ragamuffin as we fled in dirty clothes, leaving suitcases on the bitter border of tomorrow. We bend our sunflower heads as our lives change forever, shell-shocked Ukraine in the rain. But we will beat the red Kremlin devil and champion what is just, for we are the yellow and blue seeds of the mighty oak, full of brave and husky lust.
All right, guys, looking around the room, how many else do we have? Can we put up some hands? I'll be drawing to a close. Do we have any more on Zoom? No, that seems to be it, guys. We're going to take a moment to make a decision. There were some incredibly strong poems tonight. Round of applause for everybody. That was amazing. Do we still have two winners, Paul? Do we have a Zoom winner and a room winner?
No.
Right. Hi guys, if you guys on Zoom could just pop your votes into the chat with your selected poet, followed by 5 words, then we can tally up your votes and add them to our tally. Thank you. Okay, so our 5-word challenge winner tonight on the 669th Obel is Catherine Badin on Zoom.
I'm excited.
Catherine, would you please read your poem again for us?
I'd love to. Let me get into the mood. This may start out sounding a lovely story, but it isn't. The rain came down gently on the oak trees, beneath which huddled a teeny tiny ragamuffin. Everything about him was small, from his teeny tiny hands to his teeny tiny head to his teeny tiny widget of a dicklet. Oh, what a sad and sorrowful ragamuffin, for it was almost St. Paddy's Day and he had no one to love him of the same size. You see, he had been trapped under a spell of bitter, unfulfilled lust, brought down upon him by an equally tiny leprechaun who, just like the ragamuffin, bore teeny tiny grudges. Someone can have my pint.
Alrighty folks, so we have the fibre challenge is always a difficult one to judge. We go by the clapometer. That was the loudest clap. It was an excellent poem. There were so many strong poems. I loved all of your poems. They were great. So we got a couple of housekeeping announcements and then we will introduce our guest poets. We have just a couple of things to say first. Here we go. So, Ovale aims to maintain a safe space for writers and attendees. Ovale subscribes to Arts Council's Equality, Human Rights and Diversity policy. We ask participants to refrain from any offensive or discriminatory language or behaviour. Private chat mode is available for Zoom participants to use during the event, so we ask that you be respectful when communicating via these channels and to report any offence to Ovale. Please be aware that the event is recorded and will be available to revisit as an MP3 podcast and on video via vimeo.com/Ovale. Our next session is Monday, the 11th of April. It's Ovale's 15th anniversary event. So it will feature competition winners and contributors to the 5 Words Challenge compilation we have going at the moment. Everyone's welcome to attend in person or online. If you'd like to attend via Zoom, please email info@ovale.ie. So the open mic for next month is for other poets' poetry. So if you want to read on the open mic, pick a poem by a poet that you love, whether you know them or you don't, and bring it down here and read it on the mic. So the horse's head is no longer the donation. Oh, it is. Donation jar is by the horse's head. It says it's over there on the page. The donation jar is over by the horse's head. You can also make donations on the live poetry stage on the Ovale website or via our contact page on ovale.ie/blog/contact us. Okay, wonderful. So tonight we have 2 guest poets. We'll be beginning with Diarmuid Maolalai. So D.S. Maolalai has been writing and publishing poetry for over 10 years across 2 continents and multiple countries. He has published 2 full-length collections, Love is Breeding Plates in the Garden with Encircle Press in 2016, and Sad Havoc Among the Birds, that's Tourist Press in 2019. And a chapbook, even Dublin has one, Origami Press 2020, and The Broadside Night Settles with Lone Poetry in 2020. His work has been nominated several times to the Pushcart Prize and Best of the Net. His newest collection, Noble Rot, will be released by Tourist Press in 2022. He currently lives in Dublin. We have a round of applause for D.F. Money.
Hi everyone. I realised I should probably make that more specific than just 2022. It's May. And yeah, so I'm reading, it's mostly going to be poems I'm going to be reading. Oh, sorry, can you hear me okay? Yeah. Yeah, it's mostly going to be poems I'm going to be reading from Noble Rot, but I've got a few others from previous collections as well in here. And so hopefully I'll get through them all. I was kind of ambitious as well in how many I printed out, but I'll do my best. So the first one is from Noble Rot, and it's called Fresh Aired and Sky Blue. Cars ticking forward in a row of commuters, like links in the chain of a bicycle. And the day is quite clear, fresh aired and sky blue. I'm walking on the quayside past Crappie Acre Park, drinking a cup of coffee, thinking about lunch. My girlfriend's out too, though she's elsewhere. She's walking the river with Annie, her friend. When I see her, she'll tell me how they came on a swan, or the end of one anyway. A fox-eaten body lying by the Liffey-side footpath. White wings flat out, a pieta and a ribcage collapsed in the manner of girders and buildings. Flowers bob in the breeze, and in time as cars pass. Leaves blow along on the pavement like stones being skipped over stretches of water. Though the crumpled ones scuttle and come trumble more slowly. They move more like crabs on a beach. And the next one I've got is a poem called Morning to Pods of Dolphins, also from Noble Rot. I'm probably just going forward just going to say if they aren't from Noble Rot, because most of them are, or almost all of them. This one's about just myself and my partner Christy going down to Dingle to visit a friend. Morning to Pods of Dolphins. And we rolled to town roughly an hour ago, and to Adon on the sofa, dressed up for no company in a t-shirt and his pants, alternating coffee with sips from a pint glass of water. He knew we were coming, but didn't know when we'd arrive. He didn't prepare anything, and now we're in town and we're shopping, buying wine to go with dinner, and beer then for afterward, toothpaste and breakfast things. Chris cooks steak at his place and looks around while we're out. It's Dingle, a small town 5 hours from Dublin. Lately, he's been living down here. I ask him, does he think he'll stay? He doesn't know. He's finished, finally, with college and waiting while they read his PhD. He's not working, but he says it's cheap to live here. Looking at the bottles, I'm not sure I agree, but perhaps he won't be drinking. In a place like this, you don't have to drink if you don't want to. His house faces the sea. He wakes up every morning to pods of dolphins stitching the blue like thread in denim jeans. And now we're on the street walking home. Tourists flock, eat chowder and take photographs, hold up traffic. We maneuver through them. I have the beer in a box, he 2 bottles and some snacks and sausages. When we were teenagers, we tore this town to pieces. Flags left up all night, ripping in high winds. In the morning, most of the beer will be left, and one of the bottles. And now we're at the house, and Christie's steaks are ready. They're delicious with red wine and pepper sauce. We eat outside, add just a little salt. Next poem I'm going to read is it's one called Doggy. It comes from a conversation I had with a friend of mine who's a teacher, and who realized that the language that she thought was like the natural language to use with kids was completely out of place. Doggy. And whatever happened to the penny sweet counter? And children don't say doggy anymore. Have you noticed? It's doggo, the influence, perhaps, of the internet. To say words like doggy or talk about penny sweets suddenly sounds quaint, like what in tarnation or goodness instead of fuck. And birds you never saw before are common migratory birds. I guess this is my first shot at becoming old, really. Watching the words I grew up with. Evolution. Like the garden after your grandfather, spouting new flowers. All bramble and thistle down thorns. And this next one I'm going to read is a poem called Day Trip to Bray, which when we were putting the collection together, this newest one, myself and my editor Liz, who's joining us on Zoom today, had to make some edits because of the worry that I'd end up getting hate mail from people in Bray, which is a step up because for the last collection, she actually made me cut a poem, or suggested that I cut a poem, because of fear that I'd face legal action, which I think means that I'm becoming less adventurous as a poet. But it's probably more popular, maybe, hopefully. Day Trip to Bray. Bray stays steady, like a worse version of Southend, but with better memories in it and quicker to get at by train. And every time you go there, the aquarium looks to have gotten smaller, plums in a wooden box with hot weather drying them. We get off the train and see, first thing, this smudge-fingered painting, a mural done by school kids. Welcome to Bray, it says, and buses kick dust off the pavement like mongrel dogs running on sand. Everyone is out in Bray. It's summer, and the sunburn runs red from person to person, like a maniac has been dancing with paint. You feel uncomfortable just looking at people, as if heat were a contagious disease. It's close to being on holiday, but it's not quite that. Clothes so thin you might as well be naked, and we get a drink at a bad bar on the seafront, and eat some bad fried calamari. Then go down to walk the beach and lie flat under the sunshine. But it turns out that it's all just stuff and stones. On the whole, it's a good day, calamari and everything, and I leave it still loving you. Lying on the beach, usually you'd stand up with sand in your pockets, but when we leave Bray, all we carry are stones, the pretty ones, which we've both decided on. And the next poem I've got here is one called Straightforward Machinery. It's about a road trip I took, myself and my mom took up toward Leitrim. She's over there, and down to heckle me. My mother was driving. She'd brought me along as insurance because she'd never yet driven a van. Though it turned out, of course, that she loved it. The height and the weight and their ratio pleased her, and the roads as they pressed on her tires. Headlights like chisels, chipping seashells off cliffs. A radio, playing old songs. She's 60 now, knuckle hard, and hasn't lost interest in driving. Loves the straightness of roads cut through hillside and the elegance of straightforward machinery. 15 years ago, she taught me to drive in that countryside, and I sat beside her, watching rain as it melted horizons, grey as the rocks on a coast. Her knuckles, the gear stick and headlights, her smile as she pushed up into fifth. And the next one I have to read is a poem called Air, Thinking of Boglands. It's a poem about sort of a previous life when I was kind of bumming around for a while and living in the worst bed sits I could find. And yeah, like this. The landlord was fixing the next door flat's pipes, using some chemical he'd gotten from a friend who worked apparently for a pipe making company in a factory on an industrial scale. My sink had been blocked up as well since the weekend, but I hadn't called him about fixing my sink. From my sink, fumes rose through the bedsit apartment, with the smell of public toilets and long-forgotten apple cores. They curled in the kitchenette and opened the cabinets, their long, furnished fingers beckoning over tile and the waterproof splashback plastic wall covers. I lay in my bed, reading second-hand paperbacks, inhaling curled turns of the poisonous air, thinking of boglands and the fast growth on mountaintops, clearing my sinuses out. And I've got one now called Cauliflower. It's fairly self-explanatory, I think, although I realized or was told after I wrote it that it's might be more political than I had realized when I was writing it. I kind of sometimes brag about not being a political poet, and I was discussing that with Liz, who said, asked me why I thought that when I'd written this and written some of the other ones that are going into the collection. So this one is called Cauliflower. The leaves are thick and heavy, calloused hard as the knuckled hands on farm workers, packed together roughly on some farmland out near Sligo, rows in wooden boxes, and each a round white flower, a gem on velvet, faced up and just visible as white-green light, falling in a series of clenching fists. They're pushed into their boxes, onto shelves in the dusty backs of lorries on dusty days, and sent out to supermarkets and to farmers' markets and roadside stalls, where we buy them, testing with our fingers for firmness and tense fragility, these dead, unopened envelopes, unseeded, dryly chopped, and we take them home and chop them further, driving good steel knives through vegetation, tough as knotted muscle and the thighs of short-haired dogs. We broil broth soup with fattish bacon and handfuls of salt, and feel life and salt in our muscles. Fields drying, dusty days, suns corrugating over rows arranged by the careful hands of farm workers, a series of knuckled fingers, each of them curling up. And I'm getting towards the end of the list now, and this one is a poem called People in Desperate Situations. It appeared in Sad Havoc Among the Birds, which and it's just I only have two from that collection here. This one is one of my favorites. It's kind of a fantasy story. People in Desperate Situations. Golden hope and roses, cold in the morning coming in. Italy, Rome, 1985. I could be here. Pigeons burst past my balcony, scared by a girl on a Vespa, and someone in shirt sleeves is smoking a cigarette. My view is over an alley, but high enough to catch the sun. I'm not working, but my girlfriend is in her office, putting a play together. That is perhaps why we are here. Something going on in a famous Roman theatre, an opera or some quiet wine-sodden thing about people on holiday in desperate situations. Today I will tap my feet on rounded bricks, and I will sink my hands in my pockets like well diving. Hummingbird thoughts buzz my brain. They are nothing important, but nonetheless, they come in at times like this. Let me know if I'm going through. The next one I've got is it's a poem about a trip I took when I was meeting my partner's family for the first time. It's not actually about meeting them, it's about the plane ride over there, and just something that kind of made an impact on me while I was on the way over. It's called Touching Down in Istanbul. And below us, the city rises like a potted plant, off-center in a paved garden, all colour and coloured glass at height. We are touching down in Istanbul, on our way to Malaysia, the plane full to creaking for Chinese New Year, all dark, all sleepiness and peace. Beside me, Chris grumbles about her meal. It was dairy, she knew, and she now regrets ordering it, though she does admit it tasted very good. She has given me her aisle seat. I've let her have the window. There, we fit easy, like shoes in a suitcase. And she's been sleeping, or trying to sleep, and I've been watching movies. She's the more experienced traveler, knows just what she's doing and how to curl up. She's told me not to wake her, knew I'd want to. But she's seen the city before, rising from earth like mushrooms on a warm and wet morning. I look past her, all amazement at buildings in rows, spaces and the space between spaces. It's beautiful. We've come with the sun just in time and the streets tinting orange. The building's waking up. If there were flowers, the petals would be opening. We touch down, landing for a moment, like a bee on a hot day. And yeah, I only have a few left, I promise. This next one is it's a kind of a drinking poem, just about a late night with a couple of friends where we kind of got tired of lockdown and a couple of people came over even though they shouldn't have. It's called World Events and What the Dog's Doing. Sitting about at the kitchen table with my girlfriend and two of her friends, Guy, the photographer, disgustingly talented, and Annie, no artist, but original all the same. Discussing love, discussing music, world events, and what the dog's doing. What's going on in Rio right now, and Argentina. What the best time of year is to visit Berlin. Drinking wine, heavy drinking, and whiskey then when the wine runs out. Guy mentioned in passing this MFA he plans, if only they'll accept his portfolio. Annie knows the college, says she did a master's there. Outside, rain is plating the pavement, its deepest grey reflection. A mirror in a nighttime bathroom before drunken, sensitive eyes. And the next one I'm going to read is kind of a nature poem. It's called A Map of the World. Upriver, they're cutting down the parkway. On the Liffey, grass clods spin, floating empty like old cans. They clump and break apart in the motion of settled water, thick as torn cress garnish on the brown surface of soup. They shift in shape, they twist and make new patterns, like discolored marks on the band of a false gold wedding ring, like a map of the world stretched lengthwise, an illustration of continental drift. And the next one I'm going to read is kind of a bonus poem. It hasn't appeared in any collection. And it was published by some American college magazine that I don't even remember the name of a few years ago when I was living in Toronto. It's called Coming Off the Night Shift. Sky all grey and the city grey, like two sides of a silvery coin, grubby from use, buying coffees. I walk out, buy a coffee and top up my bus card in a corner shop, somewhere around 7 a.m. My head is cloudy and dawn turns slowly toward morning. Sun-breaking clouds like mushrooms on a wet lawn. I'm coming off the night shift, tired as everyone is tired, dazed, like everybody, dazed. Somewhere my girlfriend makes breakfast. I bet that she's yawning too. When I get home, she'll be at work and I'll be eating something. Behind me, the hospital lies like a pile of pennies. I get the bus with nurses. We don't talk, drink coffee. And the last one I'm going to read today is, it's also from Sad Havoc with Tourists. It's the poem that closed out that collection. And it's the poem I'm going to close out with today. It's a poem from when I first moved back to Ireland and kind of saw Dublin with somewhat fresh eyes. It's called The Fear of Empty Spaces. I go to the Liberties. I go down the little roads off Camden Street. I go all along the quays and look at the closed faces of shops and the facades of abandoned pubs, saved from demolition by the civic fear, understandable, of leaving empty spaces. Sometimes there's a new build office block up, or a set of shiny apartments, like the scrubbed deck of a ship in dry dock. Around me, the city falls down so beautifully. So, yeah, that's me, and thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure to be down here.
Thank you very much, Dermot, and well read. Geez, that might travel down a lot, didn't it? I haven't felt quite so short in a while. Jacqueline Saphra is our next guest poet, ladies and gentlemen. So, Jacqueline Saphra is a poet, playwright, and teacher. The Kitchen of Lovely Contraptions, which flipped high in 2011, was shortlisted for the Alderberg First Collection Prize. And If I Lay on My Back, I Saw Nothing But Naked Women, with the Emma Press 2014 won the Saboteur Award for Best Collaborative Work. Recent collections are All My Mad Mothers 2017, shortlisted for the 2017 T.S. Eliot Prize, and Dad, Remember You Are Dead 2019, both from Nine Arches. A Bridal with Delight, Veritas, poems after Artemisia, and The Noises were published in 2017 to 2020. Artemisia was published with Hercules Editions. Her latest play, The Noises, was nominated for a Standing Ovation Award. 100 Lockdown Sonnets was published by Nine Arches Press in 2021, and Jacqueline is a founder member of Poets for the Planet, teaches and mentors for the Poetry School. Please welcome to the OVL stage, Jacqueline Saphra.
Hello. I've really enjoyed the evening so far. Was that me? Did I make everyone laugh, or was there something else going on? You can't hear, did you say? You can hear.
Jacqueline, I thought you were here in this room, and then you.
Oh, oh, I see.
Welcome to the virtual OVL stage.
Thank you. Thank you. I really wish I was in the room. It looks really wonderful there, and I have read in Ireland a couple of times, and they've always been the best readings because the poetry is just better over there, and the love of poetry is stronger over there, and the welcoming of immigrants is better over there, and you know, you've got a lot going for you, and I'm very pleased to be part of this, but I really wish I was in the same room. Having said that, it is great to be here anyway. And I'm going to read you a variety of poems from a variety of collections, but perhaps focus quite a lot on this book, which is 100 Lockdown Sonnets. That I wrote 100 sonnets over the first 100 days of the first lockdown in England, which started on the 23rd of March 2020, and I didn't set out to write 100 sonnets at all. I set out just to stop myself going mad, so I needed some kind of focus, so I chose sonnets because I knew that I could do those. So I was very surprised when I ended up with a book. But it's really interesting to look at them now because I think they remind me of what I was going through, and I think, you know, we've got a collectively we don't want to remember a lot of this stuff. So I'm going to first of all read Sonnet 3, which is from the 25th of March 2020. So it's nearly 2 years ago now. And I went for a walk with my daughter who was living on the other side of London. And at that point, we were at social distancing. We were in social distancing mode. Obviously, we had no idea what we were in for at all. And a lot of these sonnets have got a little epigraph at the top. And this one, 25th of March 2020, the BBC News quoted Donald Trump. Trump says the US is beginning to see the light at the end of the tunnel. Alas, there is no plan, there are no eggs, no bread, Compassion's nearly out of stock, but we can walk together in the park, keeping our distance. Spring is here. She bends her spine towards the light and takes her place amid the joy of things. She will not stop her rhymes of blossoms reaching out and up towards the sun. She will not slow her pace towards full frontal ecstasy. She knows only one way to hold this world. Our pain is not her pain. We must move on, stay close without touching, share the climbing light of day, build our wall of faith against the flood, and try to talk of other things, like love. I chose that one mainly because I've been very conscious over the last week or two of spring coming and all these beautiful things happening while while these terrible events are unfolding in Ukraine. And so I thought I'd carry on now with a new poem, which is probably from my next collection, which will be coming out sometime in 2023, I hope. And when I started writing this collection, it was going to be really about my Jewish background, about my family. I was brought up as a left-wing secular Jew, but I'm very interested in Jewishness. And I was thinking particularly of things around belonging, migration, exodus, movement of people, and how what had happened to Jewish people was being paralleled in other big movements. But when I started writing this, obviously I had no idea of where we would find ourselves at this time. So this is called, this is a poem about belonging and fear, and it's called Anxious Jewish Poem. Jewish Brits are mostly quiet, hiding under hats and breathing lightly, eagerly inaudible in Jewish whispers, stretched and tuned to bashful British, as Jewish deputies doff their kippot and stand to sing for Queen and country. It's been a Jewish while since records of a Jewish wave, and you might say we're safe. We pass for now, and some of Jewish us do not observe at all. But Jewish who would trust the territory, its Jewish folds and shifts, ancient slurs that blur on, cringe and bleed through skin of memory. Jewish history churns, red paint spits the Yids, Fagins, Shylocks, still the Jewish money gags, nose jobs, sentries at the gates. So, keep your Jewish head down and your Jewish case well packed, and when push comes to Jewish shove, as has been proved and proved again, my Jewish friends, however Jewish you are not, they won't forget your Jewish children and your Jewish God, your tarnished candlesticks, your stars, your rusty muzzle-toffs, your Jewish books. Never assume. Accept your Jewish bread unleavened. Always be prepared to move. Thank you for the lovely applause. You know, I'm thinking of the 1.5 million people who so far have already moved out of Ukraine, not to mention all the dissident Russians who've moved out of Russia. History has this weird way of repeating itself, doesn't it? So this is a very new one. I haven't really read this to anybody, but I thought I would share it because in a very dark moment, I wrote it in a very dark moment. This is called War Games. At least that's what it's called for now. Despair is the parcel we pass amongst us. Round and round it goes. It is good to share, we say. One by one, each of us adds our own small and pointless contribution until the music stops. Now the parcel is so heavy, nobody can lift it anymore. No matter. It has learned how to grow without our help. We leave despair in the centre of the circle and stare at it. It does nothing. It is not ashamed. It stares right back at us from one huge screaming eye. It is going to get more cheerful in a bit, so it's going to be a bit of an emotional roller coaster, I think. So this is the only other one that I've written recently, and I don't know if any of you saw it, but there was a short film going around on Twitter, particularly of the moment a Russian helicopter was shot down, and well, the poem is very short, but it tells my story of that poem. So it's called of that video. So it's called. This poem is called "The Moment a Russian Helicopter is Shot Down." I do not want to see this. For God's sake, I'm a pacifist. I watch it 14 times, then put it on my favourites list. That's the end of the poem. Yeah, you know that feeling, I don't want to feel like that. And I know about these poor Russian boys who are being sent off to die in Ukraine. And yet there is still this part of me that really wanted to watch that video. Moving back to the sonnets, because we'll do a bit of time travel here. So this is the 14th of April, 2020, and this is sonnet 23. And this, again, the governor, Andrew Cuomo, who was the governor of New York at the time. 14th of April 2020, he said, "Yes, I think you can say the worst is over." Isn't it amazing to be reminded of these things? So I went for walks every day, as most of us did. And so this is a story of one of my walks in spring. London's gone psychedelic. Parakeets glow luminous through branches. The high grass is surely tripping with the trees on speed. The sky is flirty blue. The clouds are cast in platinum. Leaf speaks in tongues of awe as fledgling redbreasts get their kicks on Stepney Green, crowdsourcing their songs. Nature performs her usual tricks, pulling chicks from eggs and rabbits out of rabbits. Voila! And today I'm walking out with Dolly Parton 9 to 5, glutted with song and colour, sun turned to extra shine, my heart on double shifts. A shaking happiness steals in. It will not last. I hold it while I can. Yeah, so I think we have to, whatever terrible things are going on, that's all the more reason to hold on to the good moments. So one of the things that was happening here, at any rate, was that people were boasting a lot about all the amazing things they were doing during lockdown. And that's where I got the idea for writing this poem, which was Sonnet 27 from the 18th of April 2020. And the Daily Mail said, Boris bounces back to get Britain moving. My day begins with green, like tea or grass. I'm learning Cantonese and Mandarin. I'm reading Ulysses and Gormenghast and Plato while I'm training to be thin. I'm shedding all my doubts. I'm knitting sieves and sand. I write a symphony a week. I grow my own arugula. I live on air, philosophy and ancient Greek. I'm breeding ants and sheep and minotaurs to save my mental health. I do not want for company or mutton, wool or horn. The PhD is done. I'm looking hot. James Joyce has said my novel's bloody great, and Mervyn Peake has asked me on a date. It's all true. It's all true. So I'm going to move on to Dad, Remember You Are Dead, which was the collection that came out whenever it was, 2019. And this was sort of largely focused around my relationship with my father, but in a wider sense, it came very much out of what had happened in the Me Too movement, and it was a general roar of rage towards patriarchy. So this is a kind of rollicking ballad about my father, who was actually married 5 times. My mother was his first wife, and this poem is about the first time I met his 5th wife when he was in his 80s, and he brought her to London to meet me. He actually lived in South Africa. He brought her to London to meet me, and he booked a lunch in a restaurant in a street in the city of London called Seething Lane, which, as you can imagine, was like a red rag to a bull when it came to me and poetry. Seething Lane, I thought there has to be a poem there, so this is it. Offal. It's called Offal. My father had a thing for flesh. He liked his tripe and faggots fresh, and offal was his favourite dish, washed down with cold champagne. A tender sweetbread needs no knife and gives you potency for life. Let's lunch, you'll meet my latest wife in sunny Seething Lane. And there she was, all silk and shine. She must have robbed a diamond mine. She chose the most expensive wine. His protests were in vain. For reasons hard to understand, to him she was a Newfoundland, and there they postured, hand in hand, loved up in Seething Lane. It's not finished yet. She picked the caviar. She picked the caviar to start. I opted for a sour grape tart. My father, with his swollen heart, refusing to abstain, went for the usual, licked his lips, gyrated on his dodgy hip, and took her in a lusty grip, for this was Seething Lane. My father claimed he'd only strayed because he wasn't getting laid. He tweaked his squeaky hearing aid and groped his wife again. His recent ex, a lifelong prude, refused to screw him in the nude, he sighed, while getting slowly stewed on gin in Seething Lane. The sun slipped down like lemon curd. The myths and shadows rose as birds. Was that my mother's cry I heard, or just the wail of rain? Was that my mother's hand I saw, the golden ring she never wore, poised on the handle of the door, right here in Seething Lane? My father coughed. I'm not so young, but look, at last I've found the one. He didn't see the devilled tongue go flaccid with disdain, nor spy my mother, decades dead, her halo pale, her lipstick red, crash in and hover overhead to gloat at Seething Lane. Her feathers seemed to brush my hair. I felt her breathing, hot and rare. If only she were really there, that strange, familiar pain. My father belched, my mother spat and swore at him. Ah, tit for tat, at least I was well out of that, thank God, in Seething Lane. No matter, this is commonplace. The new wife with the old wife's face. Your father's in it for the chase, but not the ball and chain, my mother said. Enough of this, I'm off, it's late. She blew a kiss, flew out to find eternal bliss, away from Seething Lane. The offal glistened on the plate. I watched my father salivate. He bit the heart in half and ate a hefty chunk of brain, then took a slender slice of spleen and fed it to his new-found queen. She swallowed, turning slightly green in ghastly Seething Lane. I'm not ashamed to admit that I had a lot of trouble finding a publisher for that poem. I sent it to a lot of places because I was really pleased with it. I think, it's not fashionable, that type of writing, your metric rhyming poem, but it is my most requested live poem. So I think that kind of tells you something about how maybe we ought to be more open to to that type of thing. I can't remember what time I started. Did anyone make a note of the time?
We're doing all right. We started just before 22, so we're almost 20 minutes in.
Okay, so I'm just going to read a couple more. I'll read
Yes, we have about
a couple more sonnets and then one more poem. So, yes. So this is sonnet 56. I've put them in Roman numerals, so I have to do the maths every time I read one out. This is from the 17th of May 2020. 17th of May 2020, Britain on fast track to virus recovery, said the Sunday Express. I'm lost, the daily entry still unwritten, a fractious day reaching its close. I sit and slump and scratch my life, submitting to the possible, the empty page. Damn it. But look, the morning walk rolls in, the song of tree and bird is working in my ear. Duck eggs are hatching underneath the sun, and I remember poetry's a form of prayer. I bless this room, this pen, this wooden stool. I bless the struggle and the inner light, my absent gods, my disbelieving soul, my heart in free fall, and the hands that write the loosening, the body's sure revolt against the mind. These tears, salt, sweet, salt. That's a poem for the poets. So here's it's sonnet 88 from the 18th of June. The singer of We'll Meet Again, who entertained troops in World War II, has died, said the BBC News. So this is my last poem. Thank you very much for listening and for your laughter and your applause. And I'm not in the room, but I almost feel like I'm in the room. So that's I'm very grateful for that. The anthropologists will have their day. History will come for us. We don't know what we're living through. We see only how high the walls, how fake the news, how deep the rut. We dizzy in our twisting narratives. We try to find the light. Our working heads knock out a plot. We track and trace. Our gifts are all we've got, and Vera Lynn is dead. End of an era, myth of a common cause, and what's the bloody point of art? Oh, please, who else will tell the whip and wheeze? Our loss must not be of imagination. The libraries of the mind are open. The alchemy is strong. The dark dream howls and shows its teeth. Bring it on.
Thank you very much, Jacqueline, for a really marvelous reading. I think you can hear how much everybody here enjoyed that. That was wonderful. Jacqueline Saphra, everybody. So we're going to take a short break here, and then we'll be back with the open mic. So if you want to get on the open mic list, please come up to me on the podium, and I will take you down. Thank you very much. Oh, and if everybody on Zoom could just put your name and open mic into the chat box, please, and we'll also get you onto the list. If you want to read it. If you want to read it. Absolutely. Cool.
Thank you, Catherine, and Patricia too.
Yeah, Patricia Walsh.
Yeah, just Jason, man.
Jason.
Yeah.
Oh, Jason.
Yeah,
What's
yeah,
up,
yeah.
dude? How are you?
I'm good, man.
Well read. That was excellent.
Yeah.
I could feel that, like, that you were confident.
Yeah.
I didn't clock that it was you, man. It's been a while.
Yeah, we'll see. How long is the break, sir? For enough
What's
for a
your
bag?
surname, Jason?
Fisher,
Yeah,
Fisher.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Fisher. What do you do? What's your name?
Rob.
Rob.
Doherty.
Rob Doherty. And you'd like to be on the list as well, Jim?
Yes, my name is Jim Crickers.
Jim. How do you spell that though, Jim?
You got it.
Okay, yeah. I looked it up. When you came in, I was like, face. Like, I know the face. It's like, yeah, it's a sign that I was going to say something. I heard the accent.
If anybody else would like to read, just come up to me at some point during the next 2 minutes.
I disagree. I think it comes out in my reading.
You're not going to look at us now.
Monotone reading.
Well, no, we're not going to say
Thank you very much. Did I do okay? I don't like it either, but I still will do it. Well, I mean, it is, yeah. It is Robert, yeah. Yeah, it might help. What? I often think that this is a very boring one. Oh, no, man. It's a pretty common one, I mean, I suppose it's not that two sides of it. I feel like the more interesting it is you have, the more often more fans you have. Yeah, but you can't. What's in the name? I was looking at you could totally do it, yeah. I don't know if that's an introduction. I feel like an introduction can't just be. Yeah, that's more of a maybe not screaming into the void, but screaming into the individual probably. No. I've always thought though that there's something really interesting and enjoyable in finding but you are like to everything. Because it's that thing of like you know, politeness is not being polite to like certain people. It's being exactly the same temperature. So if you're an asshole to everybody, that's good. You're probably a better person than somebody who's nice to people and bad to other people. Yeah. you know? I can get what you give the option. Do you know what I mean? Because some people do certain. Like you don't want to be in a situation where you're just like, that's okay. You know what they say. And it's like, it's that thing of like, you know, like some people are like, yeah. And so, really have to admit to it. That's the thing. I'm bad at it. I try my best to be nice to people. But I know that sometimes I just I don't know if see, now that I'm thinking about that, is that rude? Or is that polite? No.
That's why most people will actually
Well, I mean, yeah, so it's either they're going to be offended and be like, oh, they're puzzled for sure. Or they might just go, not the last one. Not the last one. You gotta make it work though. That's the technique.
No, it's the Zoom one.
Yeah. Okay, Paul. You're intensely busy at the moment.
It's quite a few.
Yeah.
So you're going to go.
And here we'll mix these from there in just Higgly Biggly every 3 or something.
It'd be helpful for me afterwards if you could, whoever you start with say one, right? So one there.
Sure.
Whoever two is, put two, you know, just get them work your way down, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, whatever. No, just give it as you go.
Sure. I'll just do it for me now. So for Pam, I'll put Massimo, we'll put Catherine, Joseph, and right here we'll put
those two are first and second, yeah.
Hey folks, how are you? Welcome back. So we have an important announcement, which is that tonight the donations in the donation jar by the horse's head over here are going to Ukraine. So anything that you do have in your pockets, you're going to put in the jar, is going to go directly to Ukraine. So please give generously because it's a crazy world right now. And that's it. So we're going to kick off the open mic. If we can get some quiet in the room, please. Thank you, Rosie. Okay, folks, so just to, I might repeat that, the donations in the jar are going to Ukraine this evening. So we're going to launch the open mic with the Zoom poet. We're going to go with Alexandra, please.
My visions are my torture. My visions are my comfort. Turquoise visions, turquoise flying. For those whose hearts are not tired of sowing in the field of dreams. For the journey is bittersweet, half hurt, half tenderness. Like thorny milk thistle, like sweet-smelling jasmine, accepting variety, and different behaviors, going beyond wrongdoings and right doings into new and more thriving harvests. My visions are my scrambling ascent. My visions are my sacred conquest. Turquoise visions, turquoise flying. For those whose hearts can admire the phosphorescent hopes of the sunset. For the journey is rugged, half uphill, half downhill. Like bare time in the winter cold, like bees gathering nectar from spring blossoms, evoking the rain's lament and the sun's caress. Going beyond unpleasant and pleasant reactions onto new and even higher peaks. My visions are my futile mirages. My visions are my sweetest oases. Turquoise visions, turquoise flying. For those whose hearts are refreshing fountains of muses' songs. For the journey is uncharted, half tempest, half tranquility, like a wavy, turbulent sea on a windy day, like crystal, serene waters under the shimmering sun, sailing over low and high tides, going beyond traumatic and fond memories into new and longed for harbors. My visions are my lightning duty. My visions are my radiant basking. Turquoise visions, turquoise flying. For those whose hearts shine brightly through storms, for the journey is evolving, half empirical, half innate, seeing what I encounter, seeing what I know, painting the world in dark and iridescent hues, going beyond detrimental and beneficial beliefs into new and more exquisite rainbows. Our visions are our unmanifested ashes. Our visions are our golden wings. Golden visions, golden flying.
Thank you, Alexander. Thank you for joining us all the way from Greece. Over there. That was gorgeous. That was the most transcendental PowerPoint slide I have seen in a very long time. So next up, also on Zoom, we have Jeff Cottrell.
Thank you. So I've rewritten an Aesop fable, or rather I've updated it. This is The Ant and the Grasshopper in the Arts. An ant and a grasshopper were waiting to audition for a major stage remount of Hamlet. I'm sure to get the role of Prince Hamlet, boasted the grasshopper. You don't say, said the ant. I'm gunning for that part too. That's cute, said the grasshopper with a smirk, but I'm going to land it. You know why? Because I've got charm. Effortless charm and God-given talent. That's what my agent says. I've got a natural stage presence that can't help but win over even the most discriminating casting directors. They know I've got what it takes to draw audiences to the box office. What do you think of that? That's nice, said the ant. I'm going to count on hard work to get the role. Hard work? The grasshopper guffawed. Are you serious? Oh, yes. The ant waved his resume at the grasshopper. 20 years of acting experience, both stage and film. Not only that, but I studied at Juilliard under some of the greatest acting teachers in the continent. The method, the Alexander technique, I've long mastered it all. Huh, said the grasshopper. And besides, the ant went on, I already know the play inside out, and I've been conducting a thorough analysis of Prince Hamlet's inner motivations throughout the play, not to mention doing extensive historical research into what it was really like to be a young Danish prince in the Middle Ages, as well as the common behavior of people with depression and suicidal tendencies. This is how I'm going to achieve the most honest and authentic portrait I possibly can. The grasshopper laughed again. Sucker, he said, all that hard work is a waste of time. My charm and talent always get me by, and they will again now. Whatever, said the ant as he headed into the audition room. Good luck, grasshopper. 3 months later, the grasshopper had started his first day at flipping burgers at the local Wendy's. He was very depressed about not getting a role in the Hamlet production. Well, maybe the ant was right, he thought. Maybe I should have done all the work, paid my dues. Maybe that's how you succeed. The grasshopper had to use the bathroom, so he cut through the kitchen to get to the facilities. And there, loading burger patties into the freezer, was the ant. It's you, gasped the grasshopper. The ant turned to the grasshopper and nodded. What are you doing here? You didn't score the Hamlet role either? The ant gave an embarrassed shrug. They cast the producer's son as Hamlet, he replied. Wow, said the grasshopper. But come on, you didn't get any role in the play? The ant shook his head. The other roles just went to a bunch of dudes who were better looking than us. There was a pause as the ant opened another meat package. Well, that's bullshit, said the grasshopper. The ant just shrugged again. So, added the grasshopper, you want to apply for med school? That was the ant and the grasshopper in the arts, and I want to announce I have a novel coming out, actually available for pre-order. Look for Hate Story on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. It's coming out officially this Saturday. There's going to be a big Zoom launch, and I will put some links in the chat for the Zoomers. Have a good night. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff. That was excellent. So now we are back in the room, light as a feather, stiff as a board. We have Catherine Rowan.
Fantastic evening, everyone. This poem is about my very first serious crush. It's called Latin in the Rain. Reveal your tortoise love. I want to taste your full salt. Summer scent of writhing fuchsias, necking in turtlenecks. Share your secrets, bathe my wounds. I want to know in 3 days what I did not know for 30 years. You are my destiny returned, copybook blotted desire, reading Latin in the rain. Alia jacta est, non omnis morior, orare esperare. I carpe diem once more with you, my Timmy Reardon.
Next to the mic we have Patricia Walsh.
Too high for some people.
Sure.
It's called Asking for It. It's my own fault for not laughing, seeing the joy through pain darkly. Flavor of the month being an easy target. Asking for ridicule is my monumental sin. It's my own fault for not standing up, standing ground where none is intended, being stolen from, getting off my case, a small fee for leaving in peace. It's my own fault for stating hard facts. Nobody associates with me now, for fear of congregating with damaged goods. It's my own fault. Just keep quiet. It's my own fault for not being cool enough. Clothes, hair, makeup, beloved to a T, sufficient to impress the boys down the road 5 minutes before the buses leave. It's my own fault for being silent, bleeding alone through sorry eyes, scrutinized through weight of inaction, even knowing my sins before I do. It's my own fault conversing with the unknown, attempts at decipherment running dry, fear what's not understood, laughed at. It's time for me to join in the fun. Thanks.
Next up, we have Jason Fisher.
So I wrote this today. I think it's called Decided I'm Staying. So we'll see. You can start off completely lost, trying to chart all these fleeting thoughts. But when I'm gone, they'll wish they could still see me talk or that CD dropped. Now this is fantastic. You can take that pain and stack it, attack it, shake the fucking foundations and make a real racket. There's only ever two choices. Reenact it or redact it. That's it. No need for dramatics. You can stretch it, examine every facet, then eject it, cast it off when it's not an exact fit. You can find a way to mine the signs which say, you can shine today. A person who is their best version and can say, I designed myself this way, is a fine display. Suddenly all the clicking, hissing, steaming thoughts are streaming, and it seems I'm gleaning meaning from the present moment and every one proceeding, every one preceding. If you don't fix yourself, you'll damage those who were never the cause of your bleeding. So fold it up inside, that golden insight, cradle it next to your heart and mold it with time until you feel it in the day and you know it at night. But how much is filled with false flags and dichotomies? Probably all of them. Look, life kicked you in the teeth so solidly, so go grab a big stick, checking its heft and quality, letting that ego death swallow me. I'm happy to be alive, you know what I'm saying? I'm dissecting my days, dividing my time between striving and straying, but I've decided I'm staying, I've decided I'm staying, I've decided I'm staying. I decided I'm chasing, and I'm decided I'm Jason.
Thank you, Jason. Jeez, that's very polished for just today. That's beautiful, man. Always a pleasure to hear you read. Next up, we have Rob Doherty.
Two comments, yeah, if they're good.
Yeah. So this is called Morrissey's Equation, the Irish poet Sinead Morrissey. The shock of black hair bobbing, a keyboard tapping in contemplation, creates mastery through form, without the angel of creation. Where to go without the muse's whispers, how in God's name can it be done? You soothe the errant lines to better frame the shifting sands you build cathedrals on. A wry smile alters the hollowed glow, a Pythagoras beset on her equation, pulls death through square windows and leaves the Lower East Side blazing. This is one I wrote about a year ago and completely forgot, and have had to piece it back together again, which has been interesting. It's called Heliopolis. My love rises in the west on cold callow days, her face set in defiance to those old fallow ways. Far flung are her movements on an astral stage, but I love her most on her outermost days. Ablaze like Sol before those iridescent rays, I flit like a moth before her fiery gaze. I hope you rise in Heliopolis from your grand funeral pyre, for there is love in hate and death in desire.
Thanks. And next up, we have Jim Cricker.
Thank you. So this poem, it's called "A Cyborg Tries Online Dating with Grindr." On Grindr. Cyborg on Grindr. Target identified. Discreet. Effaced by Microsoft Paint. Compromising user's Facebook account. Intimating interest. Good evening, Mr. Walsh. I am interested in making your acquaintance. How is your wife? Your feline pet is aesthetically pleasing. Mr. Walsh replies, I'm lost on the internet. I wanted fishing hooks, but everyone here is talking about hooking up. Blocking Mr. Walsh. User is denying mating advances. Subject is trying to deflect from sexuality, or is technologically inept, or the truth does not interest me. Phase 2, create enticing profile. Running diagnostics for finding love. Topless photograph of self in bathroom mirror. Memo, contact manufacturer for muscle upgrade. Photograph with companions imbibing alcohol. Error, do not have any human companions. Image of self smiling, photoshopping Mr. Walsh's feline companion into my arms. Image uploaded and approved. User awaiting love. Phase 3. Users are sending images of their pelvic appendages. Scanning response protocol. User behavior defies my programming. Responding to users with images of my serial number and my headphone jack. Results. Users are blocking me. Interest expressed by one software engineer. My interest is not reciprocated. Potential for gaslight reprogramming too high. It's kind of shaking. Users are phase 4. Users are online, but nobody is writing to me. Initiating self-doubt sequence. Am I unattractive? Is feline image too personal? Okay. Phase 5. Decrease in mental well-being, 63%. Considering deletion of Grindr. Phase 76. Skipped a load. Analysis of data. Time spent on Grindr, 3,000 minutes. Conversations initiated, 1.7 million. Conversations reciprocated, 143. Number of users who have initiated ghosting rejection strategy, 142. Exception, the software engineer contacts me every day. I have one new message. Opening user profile. Subject has goofy expression and is wearing chef hat. Subject pictured with aesthetically pleasing feline. Paws dipped in cake frosting. Attraction level spiking. Attraction meter malfunctioning. Memo, contact manufacturer for repair. Digital heartbeat racing. Opening message. Hello, fellow cyborg. My name is Roger. Would you like to converse in robotic code? Initiate language change. 18,000 conversations completed in under 3 seconds. Unbelievable. You were the first person I contacted since joining Grindr 5 minutes ago. Initiating joke. In golfing terms, you have scored a hole-in-one.
Nice one, Jim. That was excellent. So up next we have one of my favorite poets. We have Massimo joining us all the way from Philadelphia on Zoom. How are you doing, Massimo?
You're on mute.
Oh, thank you. Kappa, I appreciate you saying that. That means a lot. So this piece, I don't have memorized, so I'm going to read it off my screen. Give me 1 second. Calling on a long extension, bonded by a strong connection, seeing beyond comprehension, love that crosses all dimension, love that's left when all is reckoned, wrongs are righted, that's collected. Unless what's wrong's just my perspective, bent from efforts to correct it. Seeking power in perfection, find powerlessness a blessing. If true power will never lessen, by letting others help you strengthen. Maybe power is just reflecting my self-respecting self-perception. Is it this world I'm affecting, or just my world I'm projecting? Attempts to keep the light I'm kept in, depthens shadows deep to step in. Light absorbing, then deflecting. Nothing's breaking, light's just bending. Even pain may yield a lesson, but don't let it wield its weapon. Unarmed truth needs no defending, as your truth and truth keep blending. Live your legend, dream invention, make pretend without pretending, make amends without forgetting, make my bed without regretting, make up, break up without ending, make an effort, keep intention, or just make mistakes and keep accepting. Made perfect in imperfection. A tree of life that I find room in. I try to taste it without chewing. If it's feeling what I'm doing. How to bloom without consuming. How to be loved, not resisting. Receiving gifts without condition, without needing something missing, admitting truth beyond forgiving, or forgiving truth beyond admitting. Loving freely, loving freely, loving truly, loving deeply, or even taking loving easy, to be loved before loving unsweetly. To be loved after understanding, love's a gift received by granting. It's the reason we are standing, and the greatest law commanding. But the law of love is lawless. Still without it, all is nonsense. No oath or vow or broken promise can prove where love is or is not honest. It's like a kiss of the imagination that lures matter into formation. What is it that makes all creation seek itself to keep creating? So in a world that needs our healing, just keep alive that loving feeling in us all for our revealing that we already are the real thing. Peace and love.
Again, Massimo, masterful, beautiful, man, nice one. I see on the Zoom chat that Jacqueline is heading away. Jacqueline, thank you so much. It was such a powerful reading earlier. Wonderful. Thank you. So next up we have Cal McGuire.
I don't know if any love punk ever follow a cyber on Grindr, but we'll give it a go. Dissolve. Night on a bridge I've never been. You wear that dress, woven from all my lost chances, as we watch lanterns far below. Little amber souls pull paper bodies into paradise. You laugh, and a light in me sprouts wings, burns intense, and begs to chew through this thin chest. I hold you close and we collapse, refugees in separate flights, reunited in a halfway terminal. You cast across the constellations of your gaze, beyond some other world we'd recall. One winter night, drunk on spiced wine, and curled in delight. We joke about what I wore, how we were. Shared hands shaped the past to size, fitted in the scrapbook of our mind. If I could slumber in this snow globe moment forever, I would. Your lips part, an eclipse over lifetimes unlived. I feel the caress of your voice, but cannot hear you speak. I wonder what the words were that pulled me from my sleep. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Cal. Another new face, Cal has read twice. So next up we have Margaret Regan.
This is
Now
not,
you feel tall.
I know, yeah. This is not an actual poem, but I want to remind people that at the moment there's a big government drive on to make us join NATO. And the only thing that Ireland could ever contribute to NATO are our bodies, young people, our boys and our girls, women and men. And that's the only thing we have that they want. And I just want to read a quote from Eric Hartman. He's a veteran of World War II, and he said this: "War is a place where the young kill one another without knowing or hating each other, because of the decision of old people who know and hate each other without killing each other."
Next up, folks, we have Susanna Civiletti.
Okay, this is about food. I love aubergine. So this is an ode to aubergines. Testimony of travels and trials, reinvented in every shore they brought you. Melanchana, we say at home, with the consonants following each other as the lip is eating the vowel. Poisonous at first, wild in the far continents, knowledgeable hands changed your DNA in Africa and India. They say that you got domesticated in your dresses of marbled paper and mystery dark purples. Dear pineapple, melanzana, I lightly fry you and put you in a blanket of dark tomato puree. Like in the good old days when I could smell you as the ferry was landing under the balcony of my auntie's. The table was laid out with the pasta on one side, parmesan on the other, dark tomato sauce in the pot, and you, alone in a bowl. That's how cooks survive, my auntie says, when each of you wants a different combination and layering of the dish. My brother goes for the pasta and parmesan, my parents for the pasta and tomatoes, while I want you, just you. On a velvet carpet of reduced sauce, your flesh, home to my teeth, rich, toned, and creamy. I keep you in my tongue longer, feel your weight and succulent fibers before chewing your saltiness. I taste you, I taste you, I taste you.
It's been a fabulous evening tonight, folks. There's so much quality on the open mic. What a night for the mic. Next up, we have Catherine Budden on Zoom.
Hi.
So Catherine is the winner of our 5-word challenge this evening.
Thank you, everybody. I wrote this in 2017, and I kept trying to talk myself out of doing it, but I'm doing it anyway. And thanks for your attention, and thanks. I love being here. Wish I were actually there. It's called Hardware. I like going to hardware stores. In fact, I love going to hardware stores. They're the only place I can pretend that I'm a man and really throw my weight around. Where are the hammers? I yell out to no one in particular. The one strong enough to bash Putin's head in, I say. Not exactly that loud, but in my head. Not that I'm going to bash Putin's head in, but rather I'll just use it on my neighbor. That's not someone, that's just a weird substitution and rubber mold of a man. So does that even count? I really dig stopping in hardware stores. I relish going slowly up and down the aisles of paints and cleaning products, oohing and eyeing at the tall ladders and short stools for gardening and pruning projects. Oh, and isn't it delightful to span the rows of scented candles or even the small-sized garden solar panels? I don't know about you, but I like barging into a hardware store, marching right up to the front counter, smiling and asking for the manager, because no one else can handle my exuberance, my demanding nature, my bossiness. Only the manager can exhibit enough intelligence to actually make an executive decision and give me at least a 10% discount just because it's the easiest way to get rid of me. I need a big bag of potting soil, I scream at the dodo bird girl standing in front of me. You see, the manager wasn't actually available then, so now I have to deal with her. Or I could go to another hardware store and start all over again, but that's too easy. I think instead I'll mosey on down the road until I find a lumber store. Yep, a lumber store offers even more possibilities, that's for sure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Catherine. Next up, we have Boo.
I'm afraid mine's not nearly as funny as that. You say you love me. You say I'm everything you need. The moon and the stars, the sun and the sea. But this cannot be. For I am broken and empty. How can I be the stars when the light has left my eyes? How can I be the sea when all my tears are shed? How can I be everything when I am nothing? Nothing at all. You say that I am lovely, the most beautiful thing you have ever seen, more beautiful than a summer meadow, more beautiful than a winter storm, but I think you have gone blind. There cannot be beauty where there is only pain. I am not a summer meadow. I am not a winter storm. I am the vast, dry desert with nothing but wind and sand to see. You see, don't you see how you lie? You shower me with metaphors, bury me in poetry, but can't you see? I am not the sound of birdsong or the girl who shines when she smiles. So how, pray tell, can you love me? I am not being coy. I am not being cute. And you do not need to tell me again as if it is you who can convince me, because you do not love me. You love the girl you imagine me to be, but I am not her. I am not made of metaphors. I am flesh and I am blood. I am anger and I am sadness. I am ugly and horrible and disgusting, and I will not change. I do not want to. So do not tell me you love me with daydreams and lies. Tell me you love me when I cry. Tell me you love me when I eat my way through my third bag of crisps in the same clothes I have worn all week. Tell me you love me as I throw up in the sink, but you do not love me then. So I will tell you this. You do not love me at all.
Thank you, Bowie. Well read. So next up we have Antonio.
poem calls glitch. A glass ball hits a rubber wall. No sound, no smell, no movement. Could you please underestimate the power of the words? Polystyrene serendipity. A glass ball touches a wood tree. Boom, boom. A heart beats. Boom, boom. Whispers the sound. A symphony for the winter. Turn around. There's a glitch inside the system. A solid fear, like a wounded rage of a wild youth. Words fall down one by one like sandstones. A glass ball draws a vertigo on the wall. Jump in. 74 seconds of astonishment lost. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Antonio Belred, and welcome to Oville. So next we're going back to Zoom. We have Pam Campbell. Pam is another one of my favorite poets. Beautiful.
Thank you. Can y'all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, what I'm going to read is a cento I wrote. And for those of you that may not know what a cento is a Latin word for patchwork. And it's like a collage poem. And it's a poetic form that's composed entirely of lines from other poets. And so my cento, Grace is the title, is composed from the words of these poets that are my very favorite poets, and one is a good friend. Lucille Clifton, Joy Harjo, Langston Hughes, Jim Minnick, and James Steele. So this is my tribute to them, and it's become my mantra in these hard times. Cento, Grace. I was born humble at the foot of mountains, their branches lashes to close on the blue eye of day, bridge between starshine and clay. Eagle rounds out the morning to one whole voice, shifts to the other side of darkness, wrapped in the blanket of nightmares. Ancient dusky rivers, bright as the blood-red edge of the moon, her lean darkness electrified by prayers, mosquito netting thin. Last chorus of a whispery blue, 7 steps to grace, carry canoes to the edge of the salt, climb through the hole in the sky, unknow my way back into the earth. Thank you.
So next up we have Niall.
I have a cheeky plug to do first. I have a collection of poetry that I had written over the last 3 years, and I'm releasing it soon. I'm not sure when, but I'm trying to get a date to do a launch. But I brought some along if anybody wants to get one off me, and they're €10, and there's 10 poems in there, and there's like a collection of collages and my photographs as well. So yeah, and then hopefully I'll be able to announce when the launch event is here next month. And I'm gonna read like a small one from it, and then a longer one. Pears. I thought I heard your footsteps coming down the path. Then I realized it was just the pears falling from the tree. The pears, in pairs, but out of phase, like footsteps, like us. That's that one. And then the pulse. The pulse is the old man holding out his hand and the young doing so too. The pulse is depression and not forgetting that the pulse is elation and changing the station. The pulse is staring right back at the nation, and the pulse is meeting a friend over a black and white, but the pulse is talking of all the greys in between. The pulse is not as it seems. The pulse is forgetting to remember that you even had a dream, and the pulse is in all the scribbles and the past love reams. The pulse is how the sun beams. The pulse is a new moon and a kiss at noon. The pulse always leaves too soon. The pulse is you alone in a room, so the pulse is salvation flirting with doom. The pulse sleeps in this town because the pulse is smiling through a frown. The pulse is swimming not for pleasure but to avoid your drown, but the pulse always drags you down to bring you higher. The pulse is in every sigh and every town crier. The pulse is a lie, a fable, spread on every table. The pulse is the lies we're fed. The pulse is influenced by the unsaid. The pulse is the truth if you see it as so, though, because the pulse is under toe and is under your toe. The pulse isn't and is just for show. The pulse is a parent to flow. The pulse is your memories flashing before your eyes, and the pulse is living while preparing you to die. The pulse is leaving you tonight. The pulse is beautiful. We can promise you this. Thank you.
Wonderful. Those collection looks like a beautifully put together piece of work from what I can see from here. So do hit him up. So next up we have Joseph. Joseph is on Zoom, I think. Joseph, can we get you next, please?
I think he left. I don't see him on Zoom now.
I also think he's left. I can't see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go. So we'll move on to the next person on the list, which is Cedric.
I think she knows I'm French. This one is actually a collection of much smaller poems over in card. See the way you want. And I collated them together because they kind of on the same theme. So it became one thing called meeting poems. Dusk lanterns. Eros blesses fighters and lovers alike. The dances turn deadly or lovely, for the coin of love is sided with either destruction or illusion. A strange stepped stride around a bush until someone beats it. Nights out. All roads lead to rum. More rum led to ruin. Too drunk to find your secrets, incapable of reading the runes. Blood on the dance floor. If love is a melody and God a DJ, I have become deaf by 1,000 cuts. The morning bell after. Rasped tongue and blueberries. Ah, white. Sobering. There isn't enough space in the throat for a sentence and a scream. No promises. No need to make a scene.
Beautiful, thank you, Cedric. So next up we have Cara, please.
Hello. Thanks. Infinite lingers on the tips of these fingers, and the tip of my tongue words spurt and they tumble undone. Unfurling, I murmur and I mumble some verbs, a murmuration of birds align, disperse, and they re-emerge. Into patterns, they weave their atoms into a tapestry of natural talent. Blue tits and sparrows announce the new day from the shadows. The bowed heads of flowers crane their green necks to the sky as the sun starts to rise Giant spiders pass by. Spindly legs they spin their spools of silver. Catching a squirming bee with nectar dripping off of his legs, he quivers. Wondering if this burden has cost him his life, will he ever see the inside of the beehive alive? Silver glistening gossamer. Shit. Sorry. Silver gossamer glistens and is knitted into the nooks and crannies of heather. The pale morning waits for the world to wake from its slumber. Sun seeps into the day, satiating the clay, erasing the traces of the night from the sky, like the sand being sapped dry from the pull of the tide. Sky streaked in orange and the sun sinks, and the world is brushed in blue hues. Dew droplets cling to the blades of green as the dusk chorus dims, birds drift off to sleep. Shadows stretch longer and then they disappear completely, engulfed in the darkness of night, but pierced with faraway stars' little pinholes of light. They sit still suspended, freckling the sky. Sometimes they sit in their constellations, but now they appear to me alone, reminding me that we are all standing as puppets, propped up and played by our shadow.
And next up we have on Zoom Matt Mooney, please.
So it's coming up to the last now, and it's getting late. And the two poems I have, it's a 2-in-1. Really, I will read you the Irish version of a poem and then give you the translation. The original poem appeared in my collection, Falling Apples, and the Irish translation only appeared now. That was 2010. They only appear now recently, published in a book called Éilú, published by Cushge. And it's about rural Ireland this time of the night. I mean, I'm arriving on cue with this. Éilú, it means escape. Pianti Guinness mar funkiot ako is igwidata a kolakaha. Cora cursi clown na talún. A corsana atá gore céile. Scata brabulán a conacadar no scór ún átuil díl ag duine éigen. Ag bogu sirdó on mar dera, agus a cos céimena tóiste ige. A bhaide láive mar bhaide ráve. Ag choru leis Éilú a bhile dó féin. Amach trína dóise duve dúbalta. A go hon ige teis ihe eile a bheilt. Tablum ima chart ard humor a Chris Sawala a lorg go consciusach. Nev ard ige Cunas shot Nikilla. Atá in a vratanus an troidvala. Fogamid don durnan lampi lassa. Na taif si atá squilte in ocht. A scopper. Stepping away. Using pints for punctuation. Farming friends around him, holding earthy conversations, man-to-man discussions on someone's lock of cattle or a lovely score of lambs. Turning his back to the bar, measuring his every step, he implies a walking stick to aid his disappearance. Exiting black swing doors, writing off another night. In good humor going home? unconscious of the loneliness of the silent sleeping village. He sits into my waiting car, and we leave the street lamps to the phantoms of the night. Thank you.
Next up, we have Kieran McCartney, please.
Thanks a lot, Rahul. Yeah, pleasure to listen to you tonight. It's called The Service to the Served. This one goes out to the toothpaste I stole on nights spent abroad. The service to the served, the tonic for the moment, split at the edges. Caps off to the seeker, the ever-believer, the thread past the weaver, put down unexpectant to brace gale needles and a bundle of mohair. Couldn't get past the feeling, the dry whittled low flare, shy attempt at redemption. The rule to the exception, fen well when wanton and seldom left waiting, confronted, escaping. I am no plaything, I come to make statements and leave to enact them. I'll wait for your verdict and predict the outcome. A stop in the gap, a good laugh and then some. A token, the track of well-smoked projection, only changing the tack completes the collection. A dealer, in fact, of facts resurrection, knee deep in the pack, can't detach the ransom from strands of logic unwaged against impulses of ease. The hand shown and played out of time, out of step with your poor phrase, stayed, misplaced, ineffective, complacent you gaze with wide-angle perspective. You'd stick clean to common sense like I'd buy deceptive. I'm ready for it now, thanks to how you've prepped it. I'm 6 inches of topsoil, ingenious in your rejection, intravenous come life's toil. Clean needles and skeptics, blood cooled from a long boil, steam seamless and septic, sprung from a clutched coil while all seem respected.
And now we're coming up to the final three poets. We're going to go to Zoom, where we're going to hear from Augustine.
Thank you. So it's not really a poem, but it's something I wrote whilst working through resentment towards my mother. So here it goes. I was stuck in a dark room, almost felt like being stuck in a freezer. I don't think I've ever experienced such rage in my life on a loop. How could she be so cruel? How could someone be so evil? How could someone be so in this pain? I fell from the sky into what looked like a droplet of water. I became tiny as an ant. Suddenly, I saw her as a child, this ignorant child that had been hurt by the world. In a split second, that cold frostbite-like anger became sunburns, where the pus was compassion, infected with a slight tint of puke pity, and the sting of sorries never given or received. I guess I was cleansed by this water, this drop, this wash. It opened up something like hoop-like of unknown destination portals. And I flew through one with such courage and bravery. I was gliding and soaring over landscapes, mountains, seas, and forests. As I looked to my left and right, I saw these Mighty colorful wings. I searched for the owner of these powerful things, only to find it was me. Like a jacket I had been wearing for so long, from so young, that I forgot when I first put it on. It became my default setting, my baseline. I did not know what life lived like without that jacket, that sticky layer worn like cling wrap. I have never truly felt the breeze on my bare skin, walked with such lightness that I witness in others, perspired naturally without feeling clammy. I realized that jacket was resentment towards someone who I honestly now believe could not do or be better. Oblivious she is, delusional, unknowing I was to the weights that had been sewn into the sleeves of this jacket, a collar of guilt I was in denial of, pockets full of shame, buttons carved from disappointment, held by threads of bitterness, trying to stay in place. There was a shift. I lost the jacket that day. Through going through that anger and grief, knowing that it came from purity and innocence, freeing myself from embarrassment of truth. Now I learn to fly. I keep trying. I have to remind myself sometimes that I actually can. Bumping into many obstacles, landing in strange lands, yet feeling pride and honor because at least I have these vibrant feathers, so delicately mighty, they have adorned me. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Augustina, for sharing that powerful journey. So next we have Max Creighton.
um, checked in with my friends, and I suppose whatever I write in the week, you know, I'm lucky to be John's Milan's songwriting workshop at the moment, and we'll crack you out a song a week. You know, he does a 2-hour workshop and he makes you write, so you have to kind of write from the gut and not think too much. So the one person was in my mind was someone that's part of our group here, and it's just really a raw subject, so I did check with my friends if it was okay to do it. And it's really a kind of a good wish and a blessing for her where she is at the moment. Okay. Guitar. Okay. Blue iris and gold sunflower, do not bow your head. You twine yourselves together, rise proud above your dead. Brave and bold your story someday will be told. The red star and the sickle won't do away your soul. There goes the strap. Sorry, no, a little moment. Apologies. The joys of it all. Why do we this one? Red star and the sickle won't steal away your soul. This song is for you, Ada, our comfort song for you. The magic spells of thoughts you weave cannot be locked inside of you. Your daily list, cacophony, your punk industrial. You say that all that glitters turns to gold inside your gothic world. Blue iris and gold sunflower, do not bow your head, for the green and the yellow of your nation can't be bled. And though tyrants rain their fire on you, from their metal birds they shed, if a man Bernstein for you. So we will keep you in our hearts. We're thinking of you now. I know that God is kind to you, and you have found safe ground. Blue iris and gold sunflower, do not bow your head. Entwine yourself together, rise proud above your dead. Brave and bold your story, someday will be told. Sweet red scar and the sickle won't steal away your soul. Cause the reader finish with that one now.
Thank you very much, Mike. That was very touching. I just reiterate that the jar under the horse's head, all of the donations tonight are going to humanitarian causes in Ukraine. And Ada, we're thinking of you. So last up this evening, we have Suplu.
That really got me. I'm crying for Ada. I'm very sorry about the state of the world. And I didn't know what to choose tonight, and I'm kind of dissolved right now. Because this week has been just fucking jinxed for everybody and me, and I feel the weight of the world. I chose a poem which is completely off the reel. It's not my own. I translated it, and it's trying to bring a little bit of happiness into a serious topic. It was written in, well, the fellow who wrote it, Theodore Fontana, lived in 1819 to 1898, so it's written a while ago. My own translation is from 2020. Tried my best to keep this form. I'm not going to do his version because it's too long a poem. And I might have done it before at a bit, so I apologize if I forgot. This is about a fella who dies, but he's cheeky and he kind of leaves a legacy. So I'm going to try my best to perform it to the best. Lord Ribbick from Ribbick. And this used to be performed by my dear grandmother, aged 75, in our kitchen at home in Germany. Lord Ribbick from Ribbick from hang on. Lord von Ribbick from Ribbick in the Havelland had a pear tree in his garden stand. When the golden time of autumn arrived and the pears were beaming far and wide, Lord von Ribbick, in bells chimed noon, stuffed both his pockets full of them soon. And when in his clogs a boy to him came, he'd call out, "Lad, would you like a pear?" And when a girl came along, he'd exclaim, "Little lass, have a pear. Come on over here." And thus it went on many years till, God bless, the time came for Ribbick from Ribbick to pass. He felt his end neared was autumn time. Again pears were smiling far and wide, when von Ribbick said, "I'll now pass away. Lay a pear down with me into the grave." And 3 days on from the double-ridged house, they carried old Lord from Ribbick out. All farmers and peasants with solemn face sang, "Jesus be my confidence." And the children mourned him with heavy hearts. He's dead now. Who now has a pear for us? So the children lamented. Yet that was unjust. Oh, they did not know old von Ribbick enough. They knew the new one surely is stingy and hard, keeps pack and pear tree bolted and barred. But the old man followed a boding hunch, was full of mistrust against his own son. Exactly he knew the instruction he gave when he asked that a pear be put into his grave. And in the third year from the quiet house, a sweet little pear tree sapling sprouts. And the years were passing by up and down. A pear tree bends over the grave long by now, and in the golden autumn time it gleams again from far and wide. And when through the churchyard goes a boy, in the tree it whispers, "Would you like a pear?" And it whispers too when a girl passes by, "Wee lass, have a pear, come on over, my dear." Thus still comes a blessing from the old hand of from Ribbick in the Havelland.
I just want to check in that we don't have anybody else on Zoom. Okay, wonderful. Guys, thank you so much. That was a wonderful evening. Thank you so very much to our two guest poets, Dermot Maolalai and Jacqueline Saphra. Thank you very much. Two marvelous evenings. It's been a wonderful evening. Thank you all so much. The quality was exceptional. Everybody was beautiful. This room is full of the love of poetry. Thank you so much, guys. Good night.
Also, one last thing. We're going to Mainz for a pint. Let's see you there.